little bit of information. What types of foods, you have heard it throughout the presentations, but now just to put it into one session on what kinds of foods. Now, if we really need to go into the vast array of foods that God has given to us in its right proportion, we will be here for a very long time. So we have basically selected 3 areas of foods, all right, that is good for the brain. And I'm going to have May and Dr. Bruce nearby to just come and share some additional information on these superfoods. Right, superfoods for a super brain. The first group that we want to look at is omega fatty acids. All right, these are also called essential fatty acids. Why essential? Because they are essential, isn't it? It's essential because they are essential. The body cannot make them, so they need to be found in our diet, right? And so omega fatty acids. Dr. Bruce, some examples of omega fatty acids in our diet.
Chia seeds. So omega fatty acids are extremely important. The plant-based sources there's three main different types of essential fatty acids. There's ALA, alpha-linolenic acid, which converts to EPA and to DHA. The most important fatty acid for your brain is DHA. So those are the polyunsaturated fatty acids that get incorporated into your brain tissue. The plant-based sources of essential fatty acids are ALA, alpha-linolenic acid. So as I say, good examples of those are chia seeds, like we're mentioning now, and flax seeds. There's some debate. There is conversion of ALA to EPA and DHA. That does happen in the body. And in fact, it's been shown scientifically that people that are exclusively vegetarian are better at converting ALA to the active forms EPA and DHA. So vegetarians are better at doing that. That said, I still believe we need to be very careful that we get enough of these fatty acids. So chia seeds and flax seeds are a very good source. You do get vegan sources of EPA and DHA. So they are available, and that obviates the necessary step of conversion. Does that make sense? So yes, increase your ALA-containing foods like chia seeds and flax seeds, but just make sure you're getting enough in total, and that conversion is happening essentially. So look, there are vegan sources of the active forms, EPA and DHA.
Right. What good is flaxseed eaten as is versus ground?
Yeah, absolutely. So flax seeds are wonderful food because it's so nutrient dense, and it's so full of fiber. So ground versus whole, if you eat them whole, you're not going to absorb the nutrients very well. Obviously, when you break a food down, you increase the absorptive surface area for your gut. So the smaller the particles, the more stuff can be absorbed. And flax seeds, if you eat them whole, you notice they come out the other side. So it's very hard for your digestive system to actually break down a flax seed whole. So it's nice to grind them up, but when you grind them, you expose them to oxygen. And so that oxygen is an oxidizing stress to that food, so you can start oxidizing the fat. So if you're using these things for an essential fatty acid source, the best thing is to grind them fresh every morning. Don't grind them in advance. So you make the mix, which I'm sure Pastor Isaac's going to tell us about,
All right.
and grind fresh and use fresh.
Stored in the fridge,
Yes.
How long?
I'm not sure off the top of my head, but if you store them in a glass bottle, you're going to get good longevity out of that. I'd probably say, I don't know, a month. Yeah,
All right.
long time. Yeah,
Okay.
long time. Not sure.
All right.
But it's
Great.
when they ground that they start to oxidize quickly.
We have 4 seeds, and they call them the brain food. It's linseed, which we see here. It's pumpkin seed. It's sunflower seed, sesame seed. Are they really brain food?
Oh, definitely. Almonds, for instance, almonds are not mentioned there, but almonds are another good source. Walnuts are another good source of omega-3s. But these things seeds are also quite nutrient dense, and actually what's been found with nuts in general, and seeds are also not very high in calories, which is a good thing. So it's a food that's quite high in nutrients relative to calorie ratio. And nuts took a bad rap for a number of years. We used to think that nuts had a lot more calories in, but now it's shown that there are fewer calories in a handful of nuts than previously thought. So it's good to have a handful of nuts too in your diet.
Great.
Yeah.
Magnesium, brain food.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Magnesium's involved in many to most of us end up being magnesium deficient. We don't eat enough green foods, Magnesium's involved in about 300 different enzymatic reactions inside the body, absolutely essential. Magnesium's a smooth muscle relaxant. If you have hypertension, it's good to have enough magnesium in your diet. Magnesium's a great relaxer of the body. So if you're battling to sleep, it's good to try an Epsom salt bath, which is magnesium sulfate, or a dose of 2 or 3 capsules of magnesium. But the best thing is to get it from your diet. And remember that magnesium is to chlorophyll, which is found in green plants, what iron is to hemoglobin.
All right.
So the magnesium is the iron molecule equivalent of chlorophyll. So anything with chlorophyll, which means green plants, has magnesium.
And magnesium is found in pumpkin seed?
I think it might be. I'd have to check that. I think it is. It's
Right.
very high in zinc. Pumpkin seed's very high in zinc, which is good for the brain. That's the other thing I didn't get to talk about. Remind me to talk about that afterwards.
Okay.
Can I
Sure,
share a few
go ahead.
thoughts? So in terms of that nutrient density slide I was talking about, there's some key nutrients that we need to get on a daily basis or regularly to keep the brain working well. Those are the polyunsaturated fatty acids. Zinc is very important. Zinc, omega-3s, that's the polyunsaturated fatty acids. Iron deficiency, I don't advocate supplementing iron indiscriminately because it's a pro-oxidant. So one should test your iron status before you supplement with iron.
All right.
But insufficient iron is a big factor in poor brain function. So it's actually been said that if we treated the world for its iron deficiency, we'd raise the average IQ of the world by a few percent.
Sure.
So iron has a phenomenal effect on brain function, as does zinc, as does polyunsaturated fatty acids. Then you've got B12 and folate. Those are also important nutrients to get regularly in your diet.
Greens probably we don't get enough of in, and that is
Definitely
why smoothies can be so effective.
Absolutely.
May smoothies, linseed, sunflower seed, flax seed, pumpkin seed, sesame seed, chia seed.
Okay, he's just giving you all the ingredients for our smoothie recipe. Every morning we have a green smoothie, and it's very beneficial. We feel that our energy lasts until the next meal. And the next meal is like 5, sometimes 6 or 7 hours later. I'm guilty. But yeah, we like to use kale in our smoothies as a green, and baby spinach. You can also use cos lettuce. These are some of the highest or the most nutrient dense leaves that you can find that are good for your smoothies. They don't change the taste of the smoothie to make it taste like leaves or like grass. The smoothie tastes more like the fruit. So it's very good to put these leaves. You can also get leaves like bok choy if you have access to a Chinese shopping market or something.
Right.
Also very good, very healthy.
May, tell us about chia seed. What do you do with chia seed?
Chia seed, you can also put that in your smoothie. Chia it's a tiny little seed, but it's full of energy. It's full of goodness. My friend who is a marathon runner, when it comes to marathon time, he likes to have a lot of chia. He says it's very good for his endurance, and he feels the difference. We make pudding. So we have pudding for breakfast. Anybody else have dessert for breakfast? We make kind of like a yogurt. If you want to, you can. And we don't have this every day, but you can use some coconut cream, just a little bit of honey, and you blend that up. And if you add strawberries to that gives it the sour, that gives it the yogurt flavor. And then once that's blended up, I just add the chia seeds, as many as I need, and maybe a little bit of water if you want to, and let that sit overnight. So in the morning you can have that for breakfast. It's very delicious. So
you brought something here, and I saw you there.
This wasn't to show you, I'm sorry. It would have looked a bit
Very
better.
nice.
It was for our breakfast. We were rushing this morning.
We had breakfast on the run, literally. And this is
blueberry chia.
This is a breakfast dessert. And that's too cool for my children, that they can have breakfast, dessert for breakfast. So that, you're saying, that is
That's
chocolate
a
chia mousse.
Yeah, different recipe. Yeah, you can do what you like with the chia. You can experiment. Look online for recipes. Look in my recipe book if you like. You can use carob to flavor it, and it'll color it as well. So you can use the same idea, the same principles with the coconut cream or whatever, or soya milk, rice milk, and just flavor it with.
All right. Right. The next slide. This is my son, my 10-year-old, but he was about probably 8 or 9 years old when he created his own cereal. He was on a 6-week raw, a 6-week, 3 months, raw diet. And he was very creative, and he created his own breakfast cereal. That cereal, you cannot see the picture very clearly, but it's made of all the 4 seeds, plus almonds, plus raisins, and almond milk, and coconut, and that was his breakfast. I frowned upon it the first time I saw it, and the second time I saw it. The third time I said, let me taste.
When you taste it, it's really good.
Not bad at all. Not bad at all.
He could only use what was in the house, and that was the seeds, and he ate it, and we started joining in with that breakfast. It was nice.
Right, we're going to skip that. Yeah, you can make brain food bars with the 4 seeds, and there's a wide variety of things that you can do to get your omega fatty acids in, right? The 4 seeds and chia seed. Next, we want to go to superfood, all right? So we're done with omega fatty acids and the importance of it to the brain. Next is whole grains, all right? The brain cannot work without energy. The ability to concentrate and focus comes from an adequate, steady supply of energy in the form of glucose to the brain. You can achieve this by choosing whole grains with a low GI. Dr. Bruce, break that down for us in simple language.
Sure. What we've just spoken about is, first, prior to this, we've just spoken about the structure of the brain. Now we need to fuel the brain. So the fat builds the structure or architecture of your brain tissue, and the grains come along and fuel it. So that's a nice way to think about it. So the whole grains, so as Pastor Isaac was saying, we need to, like we spoke about this morning in terms of our carbohydrate tolerance, we need to be choosing foods, not just grains, but that release their sugar slowly and result in a slow, we were talking a lot about cardiovascular disease in our last little seminar. Don't want insulin spikes, don't want sugar spikes. Those things increase your cardiovascular risk, they increase your cancer risk. So you need to be choosing foods that are unrefined, that release their sugar slowly, and that don't have too much carbohydrate in them. You don't want to be having, in the proportions on your plate, if you divide a plate up, you don't want to have mash and a piece of broccoli. Do you know what I mean? You really want to be getting your carbohydrate from the broccoli and then a portion of mash.
All right.
Especially if you're trying to get to ideal body composition. So control your carbohydrate portions.
Great. Thanks a lot for that. The common whole grains, we know them. We don't need to ask what they are, but there's one grain that we don't very often use, and yet it is called the queen. The queen of grains?
Yeah, millet. Millet, I don't know if many of you use millet, but buy millet and try it out. You can use it in desserts, but you can also use it in a breakfast dessert again. And it's very, very delicious. It's wholesome. It's non-acidic forming. How do you say that? It's alkaline.
Yeah.
It's alkaline forming. So it's a very, very good grain, and it has all the essentials that you need. We use it, we just cook it. Just cook it normally in a pot with a little bit of salt, a lot of water, and then you add fruit. You can add currants or raisins or cranberries. And once it's done cooking, you can add pineapple, whatever you want to add. Not the fruit that goes brown, okay? But any fruit that will keep its color. We just do that and have it with a lot of fruit salad, and it's delicious.
Right. Well, let's move on to the last one, and that is tofu. Very common in Asia, maybe not that common in South Africa. Dr. Bruce, what's the big thing about tofu? Why does it make it to a superfood for the brain?
Tofu is rich in the amino acid tryptophan. We spoke about tryptophan and serotonin. So it's a good plant-based source of tryptophan. And tryptophan, it's an important sequence to keep in mind, how your body makes serotonin. So you've got tryptophan, which becomes 5-hydroxytryptophan, which then becomes serotonin, which then becomes melatonin. So the body uses one amino acid to create a sequence of events that ultimately end up in a sleep hormone called melatonin, which is also the reason why, if you're battling with sleep, it's not best to always take long periods of melatonin, because melatonin's affecting the production line along that shuttle. So that's another amazing, while I'm thinking about that, the design of the brain is just incredible. God is just a master designer. He took an amino acid. Have you heard of glutamate? Glutamate's the major excitatory neurotransmitter in the nervous system. Glutamate is involved in a cycle, just to digress, just to illustrate the point, is involved in a cycle that is converted to GABA. So you've got the major excitatory neurotransmitter that excites the nervous system, converting to the major inhibitory neurotransmitter GABA. So there's checks and balances in the brain, and that's beautiful, is that one thing can't become too much in health. So that's really, really nice. So tofu is a good source of tryptophan, and tryptophan produces serotonin.
Great. Thank you so much. May, what do we do with tofu?
You can do lots with tofu. I tried making a cheesecake one time, and my husband loved it. I'll leave it there. But you can. There are some nice recipes there. We like to make scrambled tofu. You just, the trick, I think, with scrambled tofu is that you've got to make sure that all the water has evaporated. You just braise some onions and peppers and whatever you want in your tofu, some spinach as well. It makes it very nice. And then you crumble your tofu, add it to that with some salt and other seasoning that you want, and just let it cook until all the water has evaporated. And you got a lovely scramble. Oh, you add some turmeric for the color. You can also add something called black salt. You can go to Spice Emporium. There's a shop in Durban, in the city, Spice Emporium, and you can get black salt, the finely ground black salt. If you sprinkle it on there, it tastes a bit like egg. So you decide for yourself. We don't want to imitate and try and make, out of plants what is not plant. But it does. I used to love boiled eggs. And when I sprinkle that black salt over avocado, I feel like I'm having a boiled egg sandwich. And I haven't eaten boiled egg in years and years.
The other thing that's nice to keep in mind with why scrambled tofu is a nice substitute is when you scramble your eggs, you're damaging that cholesterol.
That's it.
You're oxidizing cholesterol.
All right.
And we were just talking about in our last talk how damaging oxidized cholesterol is to your blood vessels.
Yeah.
There was actually research done on a set of monkeys where they fed, the students in a lab came to the research and said, can we feed the monkeys pure cholesterol? And they fed the monkeys pure cholesterol, and the monkeys started getting heart attacks and strokes within a few days. Within a few days.
Wow.
And so the researcher thought that was a very strange finding. It should have taken longer than a few days to get heart attacks and strokes. And he found out that they'd actually taken the cholesterol from a bucket of cholesterol that had been open for a long time and hence had been oxidized. So he repeated the experiment using a non-oxidized cholesterol, and they didn't get heart attacks and strokes. So it's not that I'm saying unoxidized cholesterol is a free-for-all. I'm saying particularly damaging is oxidized cholesterol. And in terms of dietary sources, and when you beat an egg, you're essentially oxidizing that cholesterol more. So scrambled tofu is a good option. Anything that combines milk, eggs, and sugar is really oxidizing that cholesterol. And that's pancake recipes and ice creams, cakes. Milk, eggs, and sugar is oxidized cholesterol. And you're plastering potentially, look, each person's system differs slightly in terms of how they respond to dietary cholesterol. But you're potentially adding oxidized cholesterol to your vascular system, which is not good.
Great. Thank you so much. We have edamame that we want to add on to our superfoods, as we have heard in our presentations. I want to ask Dr. McKeel and Jeanette to just come and share with us how can you actually prepare or make edamame nice and delicious in various dishes.
Amen.
Just before we tell you guys how to cook the edamame, I just want to, don't go away. I just want to tell you a little incident that a friend of ours had a while back. His grandmother was in the old age home, and she turned 90, so they decided to take her out to a restaurant for lunch. And she was extremely excited and happy and everything, and they went to this restaurant. But now, lately, you get Wi-Fi all over the place. And there was a little board that said, free Wi-Fi. And she couldn't see very well, and being aged, she's not up to date with all the technology and everything. So she looked at this business and she said, oh no, free Wi-Fi. What does the world come to?
Pretty wifey.
Now we have a Wi-Fi here this morning, but she's not free. She belongs to Isaac Solomon, and we just want to say thank you so much, May, for your support to your husband and everything that you do for us. Okay. All right. The soybeans. On the tables this morning we set out for you some green edamames. Now those are the vegetable type soybeans that some of you have bought. Also the little pack of soy nuts that you had in your bag yesterday is now the matured edamames which they roasted. So the ones that you've got on your table, they pick them when the seeds are nice and round in the pod. And you only have to cook it in water for like about 6 minutes with salt. And then you just pop it out of the pod, and there you've got your protein. You can't get a protein which is easier to cook or more nutritious than these green edamames. All right, and then the dry beans, once the bean has been matured and it's become yellow in the pod, then it is harvested, and that is what you buy in the shop. You buy the normal industrial soybean, but these ones are non-GMO, and they're sweeter, much more palatable, acceptable for the human taste. Now what I do is I would soak them overnight, and then if you've got a pressure cooker, the next morning you cook them in a pressure cooker for about 20 to 30 minutes, and they're soft.
Wow.
And once they're soft, you can literally do anything with them. We use them in stews. I mash it. I make patties with it. You can smear it on your pizza. You can add a little bit of fried onion and tomatoes, and you can make a paste for your sandwiches. There's literally a lot that you can do. You can go onto the webs. There's a website, Good Soya. You can write that down, Good Soya. There's a website. It explains step by step exactly how that you can cook your dry soybeans. There's also a couple of recipes. And if any of you have experimented with soybeans before, you can send your recipe in and we will place it on that website for you as well. All right, and then from those dry soybeans, you can also make milk. So what we do is I soak, so for instance, I want to make about 1 liter of soy milk for the next morning. I would soak about a half a cup of soybeans overnight, and then tomorrow morning I will just discard that water, and then in my blender I'd put those beans with about 1 liter of water, blend it up, and then cook it for about 20 minutes, throw it through a sieve, and then just add a little bit of salt and a little bit of honey, and you've got your milk.
Wow.
And then the curd that stays over, don't throw that away. Put it in your oatmeal porridge or in your patties or whatever. Please don't throw it away.
All right.
What I also do sometimes is, actually most of the time, because time is quite of essence to us, it has happened already that Michiel has phoned me and said, I'm bringing somebody for lunch. And I thought, oh, I've got soybeans. And then people would say, soybeans, how long is that going to cook if you're having guests over a half an hour or hour? If you boil the water and put your beans in slowly, now Michiel's going to explain to you now why you have to do that. And then once it's bubbled up, just put it off, let it stand for 20 minutes, throw that water off, and then cook it in your pressure cooker for about 20 minutes. So within an hour, your beans are cooked, and while they're cooking, you can saute onions and tomato and make some veggie mix or something and cook some rice. So by the time your beans are finished cooked, you add it to your veggies and your gravy, and you've got a meal right away. It doesn't take you 2 hours to do all of that.
Great.
Okay, so Michiel is just going to tell you quickly why we put that in the hot water, and then what the amino acids of the soybeans are as been requested.
All right.
Maybe I'll just make it very short for those who didn't attend my talks. Soya has got a complete protein, all the essential amino acids in the right ratio. And it's also important to stress the fact that it's in the right ratio. So if you are looking for a food that will sort out your protein requirements, soya is definitely the non-animal, plant-based protein that you can go for. The most criticism or concern out there is that soya has got some anti-nutritional factors. That is not true. Soya doesn't have any toxins. Just look at the Chinese, the Japanese, the far oriental countries that's been consuming soya for thousands of years. And they are the brightest in the world. They have the longest life expectancy in the world. So soya is the best food. There is best protein and a complete, all the essential amino acids as well.
Great. Thank you so much again, Dr. McKeel, for sharing this very valuable information with us. Thank you, Dr. Bruce. Thank you, May. And you are blessed to have such giant, such experience with you this weekend. Right? Dr. McKeel had soybeans, etc. here this last night and today. I think is out. But Beverly has informed me that she will receive from Dr. McKeel, and so you're welcome to come to the office and obtain it from there. Okay? May, these pictures that you have seen is from her recipe book. We have an author in the house, and she is not the free wifey that you heard about. She is my wife. And so you're welcome also to obtain her recipe book if you don't have it yet, where you will see all these recipes. She has graciously agreed these recipes that you have seen on the screen, she will put them for a short period of time on the website, Health Power Convention. You are able to download them for free, these recipes. It's only a few. The book has got over 100 recipes in. But these ones that you have, that she made mention of today, you can download them for free off the website, right?